You get it from like a sports shop, and they sell loads of sports stuff, and then a
Mm.
random mug. It's just so random.
Random
It's like,
mug.
okay,
So everybody
yeah,
just has a Sports Direct mug these days. That's funny.
yeah,
That
yeah.
maybe hasn't come across the pond yet, so we gotta like it.
I'll send you one.
All right, thanks. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get this started. Welcome back to another episode of Tactical Debrief, everyone. My name is Joshua Toshi Howard, and today I have Matthew Edginton coming off of the London Grand Tournament, where I believe he went undefeated with 4 wins and 1 draw. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
undefeated.
and
Yeah.
you had a very distinctive list, shall we say, that I think was using a lot of pieces that a lot of people were not really expecting to see. But before we start talking about the actual games you were playing, Matt, I'm more curious about like what the London GT is like, because over here in the States, we're lucky to have like 1 or 2 of these events we can get to per year, right? Like I can maybe go to LVO, which has like 1,000 players, and if I were to try and make my way up to Tacoma, which I might do next year, I think that one has 800. But LGT, the London Grand Tournament, is generally seen as like one of the premier events in the world to go to.
Oh, it is great. Like, what, once a month I can go to a tournament that has like 250 to like 300 players, and it really hones in your skills very quickly. Because this is the first year I've actually done the actual circuit. So beforehand, like in normal small groups, I could probably come like third or fifth, but like just doing 2 of them has really like honed me up very quickly, like how to like properly move around corners, how to really take advantage of you kind of know other people's mindset when they're playing. So playing so many, you kind of get used to like play people's mindset with the army they're physically playing at the time. So you kind of like going to London is the big one at the end. So if you play more of the smaller ones during the year, you're really setting yourself up for like the London at the end. So
Hmm.
that's what I think helped a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've definitely seen your name pop up from time to time. I don't know if you've seen my spreadsheet that I have with like everybody who does well at events, but I'm actually kind of curious then because you've been. It sounds like you were relatively new to the hobby. Is that fair?
No, I've been playing for 19
Okay,
years,
okay.
but
Well,
yeah, a little while. But
little while.
it's mostly I've been playing more hyper competitive in the last
Gotcha.
year. Like beforehand is like I've been doing well at my local store, but it's only against like the same people over and over again. So I never really knew how good I was or wasn't, you know? It's
Yeah.
just
What inspired
I
the
played
jump?
what I want to play. Well, one of my friends, he really likes competitive, so he was a bit like, "Oh, do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Sure." So I kept him come with him, and then well, we got closer as a friend as well, and it was quite nice. Like just going to like Manchester, Bristol, just going around the country. It was generally just nice
Yeah.
because yeah, it's nice just to explore and meet new people. And to be honest, you see quite a few of the same people over and over again. So you go to like a next one, you're like, hello again.
Hey,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, you really get used to like quite a few
Yeah.
people. It's really nice.
That's so funny. So I don't know if you know this meme, but one of the things that a lot of Europeans often get surprised about in the United States is just how big it is, right? Also, how willing we are to drive for hours and hours to get to anywhere. I remember there was this old meme of someone who's like, "Yeah, I haven't seen my dad in like 2 years because he's just too far away." And an American asked the Brit, like, "Oh, how far away is he?" "Oh, he's about 3 hours away." It's like, what? We do that like once a month just to go different
Yeah.
places. So, getting to travel around the country, it sounds like a pretty big spot there. But you said you've been playing for 19 years. Has Guard always been the army that you've been playing this entire time?
I actually started off with Eldar,
Okay.
ironically, but when I was learning, my friend was like, "Oh, I'll teach you how to play." And I was like,
Hmm.
"That's fine," but then he helped the opponent beat me, so I kind of yeah, so I kind of got a bit sour towards Eldar. So after playing Eldar for like a year or two, I kind of just jumped from that to Guard, and ever since then I've just grinding Guard, and then obviously I was around when Scions actually came out as well,
Oh,
so.
wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've instantly gravitated towards them because every list I've seen you play has been as many signs as you can fit into a list.
No one expects the 50 signs. That no one expects the 50 signs to jump out of nowhere and, you know, get them because like they just don't. They don't. It's like what you think about it. It's 45 extra points than a standard guard unit. And you
Hmm.
get double the special weapons. They have better ballistic skill. They got better armor, and they generally look cooler. So I was like, there's no reason not to. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, let's
I
do
would like
some.
to bring more, but
That's totally fair. I know one of my other friends was talking about how there was a heyday of Scions, I believe, during the 8th edition codex, but during ninth edition, where the Landman Lions were crazy. Is there any other time that you remember where
yeah,
Scions were, like, absolutely
no,
top tier?
no,
No, nothing as good
no,
as that.
no. Yeah, well, given Sans a 5-up invuln with the Lambent Lines was amazing. Valkyries being able to drop down with what 8 melter guns and then just disintegrate anything was great. But back then you couldn't get out of, like, if the vehicle moved, you couldn't get out. So there was ups and downs, but everyone shot your Valkyries first, which made me sad. So
Oh, they are so cool.
yeah,
I'm really hoping. I've
yeah.
been hearing rumors that they're going to be good again in our 10th edition codex. So,
I
here's
hope so.
hoping. But anyway,
I've got 4.
yeah. Let's go ahead and start talking a little bit about the games that you're actually playing, Matt. So, to start off, could you go ahead and go through your list for us?
Oh, I shall bring it up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's not mess up.
Which one of these
Uh,
all Scions list was it?
there's a lot of lists. So it's Gaunt Ghosts, 2 Tempestus command squads, one having to be the Warlord. They both have a plasma gun, a melter gun, Voxcaster, and banner. A platoon command squad of mortar, Ursula Creed, and then 1, 2, 3 units of 10 Scions, 2 units of 5 Scions. Pardon me. 3 Chimeras, but equipped with heavy bolters on the hull and the turret. 2 Taurox Primes with the Taurox battle cannon and autocannon. 2 field ordnance batteries with the Bombasts. 2 Hellhounds, 3 Ogryn Ripper guns, and 2 Rapier laser destroyers. Units of 3.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that obviously jump out to me very quickly. The first one is the fact that there's like no real anti-vehicle shooting in this list. So how do you tend to navigate matchups where you have to go into a bunch of toughness 10 or stronger armies where you just don't have anything that's going to be wounding on better than a 5?
Well, with the new lethals, you have what coming out the Chimera, 18-inch range. That's 6-12 essential heavy bolter shots. So one or two of them is probably going to lethal.
Hmm.
And then obviously with the Rapier laser destroyers, they're 6 shots with an order with take aim. So there's 6 shots twin linked. So really you only care about the hitting, and then the twin link kind of sorts yourself out. And you just go, I'm cheap. I will fire 3 chimeras into you if need be, and then the las cannons that will normally kill pretty much anything, especially with the extra AP and the ignore cover. Because you
Hmm.
think about it, now you're AP2 with your heavy bolters, ignoring cover, even a Lehman Russ. Well, that's a 4-up save now,
Hmm.
and yeah, it just through the sheer amount of lethals and the las cannons, you will take a tank or 2 out per turn.
Fair. Yeah. Did you ever run into like any like land raiders or local thorns or anything that was just like
Um,
really hard to get through?
I ran into Rotagus and the ground clean one with a 4-up Phil no pain.
Yeah.
That was a nice.
That one's tough to chew through for sure.
Mm,
Yeah.
I did kill. I was quite lucky. I did kill both in one turn, so that was
Wow.
very, very
Wow.
lucky.
That's really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Unfortunately, they haven't got an armor save, so
yeah, exactly. So anything that you actually do a wound, I mean, it's going to be doing
yeah,
some damage. Uh,
exactly.
I mean, that makes sense. But the next thing that I'm really interested in is the field ordnance batteries. A lot of people, myself included, generally look at these, and I'll generally tell most new players they're cool, but they're usually
Yeah,
not worth bringing. But you brought, I think it was 2 units of them. So what were
yeah.
they doing
Two
in this
two
list?
units. The pinging off cheap units at the rear to help Silence Deep Strike. Even if that, like against the Custodes, they have their toughness 3 up armor. Both units will ping them off, meaning they'll have to put a decent unit. Even just the having the threat of them there, makes them come out, and that's generally what I want them to do. Like you could upgrade to the what was it, the Earthshaker cannon, the
Hmm.
actual emplacement. I didn't have the points. and for what targets I want them to go for, they do slightly worse because well, you could filter fire, and they're against like what they both do about average on Marines, but when it comes to anything lower than Marines, because of the sustained and blast, the Bombasts generally want do better for what I want them to do. So they're very much there for a very specific reason, not for like I can do anything with them. They are there to clear screens and specifically help my Scions.
Yeah.
So
And for an army that has so much deep strike in it, just being able to open
yeah,
up areas of the map makes a
yeah,
lot of sense to me. Now, the other thing, so I believe you had triple chimeras. Were they all Ogryns inside them?
yeah, all Ogrins inside, yeah.
Gotcha. And then what were you actually putting inside the Taurox Primes? Because you have, 10-man units, but you have some 5-man units with Tempestus Command Squads. How are you assigning
Yeah.
your Tempestus Command Squads?
So it was Unit 5 with Tempestus Command in a Taurox Prime.
Hmm.
So that's what's in the Taurox Primes, which is a 5 and the Command Squad. So that all tens.
Yeah,
So because obviously 15 is very hard to deep strike behind people. So I've kind of gone with I'm gonna have tens, but at least these primes are just gonna sit back stage and then have the full rerolls. Because as soon as someone steps on an objective, you just look at them and they fall over.
yeah.
So,
Interesting. So, I mean, it sounds like this kind of list is going to do really well into anything that has, like, a lot of infantry bodies, right? Custodes, Blood Angels, Death Guard, even. What kind of matchups were you generally a bit more worried about?
sisters actually.
Interesting. What was so hard about Sisters?
It's because of their exorcists. They can get rid of my vehicles and my bombasts before I can react with them because the army is so reactive. Like, I'm waiting for you to do something so I can do something.
Yeah,
But if you've got an exorcist, you pop a Taurox Prime. Oh, I've now lost my reroll wounds.
yeah,
If you've done it to both of them, I've lost both of my reroll wounds, and that's also where some of my anti-tank is, because you come out with double melter, double plasma, reroll hits, reroll wounds. You're gonna get quite a bit of that stuff through,
yeah.
especially with sustained as well. So
Yeah, interesting. Because I wonder if this is a difference in meta. Because I know when I see Sisters lists being brought over here in the States, I don't see a lot of Exorcists. In fact, I don't see a lot of indirect in general. But it sounds like it's a lot more common over on the
yeah.
UKTC. So I'm actually kind of curious. Then, have you played any games on alternative like terrain formats like Games Workshop or WTC?
I've done Games Workshop, but not WTC yet.
Gotcha.
No, just those two.
What kind of differences do you generally notice in the way that you're like thinking about the game and building lists between the two terrain types?
So I'm very much in my own like anything I go against, I'll have the exact same list. I'm very boring like that. I
Fair.
won't change it. Yeah. So, yeah, like ask any of my friends, I will go the basic and
Yeah.
not switch. I'll be like, this is my thing. But how I play it will be different. So if it's more open, I might put two primes in reserve just so I could hide all my chimeras and my hellhounds.
Hmm.
If it's more enclosed, you kind of want to keep them on just for the reactive. Like someone comes close, you react to them. But yeah, if it's more open, just put two in reserve and just know it's an option to rapid ingress them as well. So it's pretty much just that.
Yeah.
That's the only main
Yeah.
difference I find.
How how did you feel the navigating from the old UKTC to the new UKTC? Because I know like in the past like couple of months they had a pretty big change in the way that the terrain worked. How have you been adjusting to that?
Yeah. Um, it's actually helped the army list so much. I
Nice.
love it. I love it because they've got. Have you seen the little rectangles they put out,
I've
and then the
looked
two little
at it,
tranny?
but like
Yeah.
I don't expect to ever play on it, so I didn't look
No,
at it too
so
hard.
so you kind of it's like you think it like a building, but your tanks can move through.
Hmm.
So you put like a chimera behind it, and you're like, oh, you can't shoot me, and then you just fly through it,
Yeah.
and you get so close. Like you think about Ogryn within 9 inches in a chimera, that's what 12 shots alone with ripid guns, and yeah, again against monsters and vehicles, that's gonna hurt because the
Yeah.
amount of lethals going through. So
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
love it. I the army loves it so much.
Gotcha. I mean, that's really cool. I know that there's a lot of like the Games Workshop terrain that has those little like footprints that don't really have any terrain on them.
Yeah.
You just drive over them, and we use them as great staging points in particular for things like Rough Riders, which is
Yeah.
absolutely awesome. But anyway, so we've talked about all that. Let's start getting into the games a little bit. What can you tell us about the first game that you ended up playing? I can pull it up if you
Yeah,
don't
it's first
remember it.
Custodes.
Yeah.
versus Custodes.
Custodes. All right. What happened with the Custodes game?
So obviously I had more drops than him. He had 2 grav tanks, but
Mm.
the way the map was laid out, he couldn't hide both of them. So I put all 6 rapiers targeting right in the face of one. And I just went, if I go first, that's 12 las cannons you're going to have to take to the face. It's going to die. And he even admitted, he was like, yep, it's going to happen. And unfortunately, I went first, blew up the tank. So he was a bit like, fair. And yeah, second turn, he edged the other tank nowhere near the rapiers. He was like, I'm not dealing with that. Goodbye. So he didn't actually take rapier shots on the second turn, but also he staged a lot of his
Yeah.
custodians. Because one of the wardens went to the middle wall near where my rapiers were, so I knew what he was going to do next turn with them, my poor rapiers. So he pretty much staged, got points. My next turn, I went all 3 chimeras with a hellhound into his vehicle. It popped his vehicle.
Nice.
The amount of lethals, because
Yeah.
2 of them, one of them was in within 9, so that was
It's a lot of
what
shots.
18 heavy bolters plus what 6 yeah 3 6 9 12 from the other 2, so 24 plus yeah the amount of lethals at AP to ignore and cover. Unfortunately he fell over,
Yeah.
but he brought out his wardens, and I saw he done that. So his turn, he charged my 1 chimera, which is okay, you kill that
Cool.
chimera. Killed a chimera. He jumped down his jump pack people, 2 of them. I was like, that's fine. They did a few shots. They failed both their charges, so yay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Cool.
was like, okay. My next turn, I moved out the Taurox Prime. His wardens popped the 4 at Feel No Pain. I then came out of my chimeras with 2 units of Ogryn, because now they've got 18 shots. So I've piled Hellhound into them, the +1 AP, and Taurox and Scion Command Squad,
Yeah.
and then obviously the 2 Rippers. Left him down to the 1 Blade Champion on 1 wound. So I was like, great, damn
Great,
you.
great.
Killed the both jump pack people, and then I charged, and the Ogryn didn't kill him, mostly because I forgot they had 4 attacks, not 3 attacks.
Oh
That was
no,
my
I
fault.
can't believe it.
Yeah. He then killed them back. His turn 3, he oh sorry, on my turn 2 as well, I brought my rapiers to look at his other squad of wardens, which he popped the Feel No Pain, and I did nothing. So I
It
was like, I know.
happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then his turn 3, he came out the wardens. I had another, so the wardens, well, I got shot by the rapiers. He brought out the wardens, which were moved into a unit of Scion Command Squad, but it landed on the objective, so I overwatched. Because what,
Mm.
hitting on 6s, lethals as well, because
Because
they're
they're
not
infantry.
monsters. Well, anything not monster or vehicle. So
Yep.
yeah, and it killed 2. It killed 2 of them. They obviously charged, killed the command squad, but well. And then
Yeah.
the other 6 las cannons turned around and killed us. So at that point, he was a bit like, "Yeah, you've got me. I've lost a chimera, a command squad, and a unit of rapiers at this point." So he was like, "Yeah, you've killed me. There's not much I can do now."
Yeah.
So it was kind of, yeah. So he was like, I want a little bit of an early lunch. So we'll just talk it out a little bit and see what you can kill, and then we'll tally up points." And I was like, yeah, it's fine.
Sounds good. Yeah,
It was
I
a very good
mean,
game.
you mentioned the Overwatch thing. I try and harp on that every single time it's relevant.
Mm.
It's just if you have a Scion command squad and normal Scions
Yeah,
and they're looking at something on an objective, you want to Overwatch because you're
it
functionally hitting
hurts.
on 3s with lethal hits. Like it's really good. You basically could just get an extra shot. And I'm actually kind of curious then, before we keep talking about it, one of my favorite tricks you could say to do into like Custodes in particular is like I'll drop Scions against like wardens or something that are on a point, knowing I'm probably not going to kill all of them, but I get to shoot them again if they move.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
That's kind of what I did a little bit with the when I staged. I tried to trigger out the Feel No Pain, so I knew on the Overwatch I could actually kill some.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you'll probably kill one, maybe two in the first
Yeah,
shooting. You'll
yeah,
kill another, probably like one or two in the Overwatch, and suddenly,
yeah.
a unit of 6 wardens is now a unit of 2 wardens, and you're like, nice, this is great.
Good job.
Yeah. But that, I mean, it sounds like that game went pretty swimmingly to start off
Yeah,
with,
it
and then
went
you have to
fairly
go
quick and
into
easy.
Gene Stealer Cult, which to me sounds like a
Yes.
very volatile matchup.
Oh, it was over very
Yeah.
quickly.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I went fast on that one as well. So yes, go me. I brought out three Hellhounds, three Chimeras, and a Hellhound.
Hmm.
I did a few pot shots. I was like, okay, that's fine. He then went his turn. He killed all three Chimeras,
Hmm.
sorry, and he killed the Hellhound. And this
Ooh.
is where it was a bit. This where is a bit spicy.
Yeah. So real
It was
quick,
on.
is this like the weird like Innes Wilson GSC list?
Um, it was loads of like Ridge Runners and
Yeah,
Bite.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, yeah. Because I've heard that this archetype of Gene Stealer is actually really good at playing the trading game.
Oh, it definitely seemed to be,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, he put two Ridge Runners, his unit of bikes, and his standard unit of Gene Stealer Cult guys next to the Hellhound, which then blew up and done D6 mortal wounds
What?
everywhere.
Oh, no.
And obviously, I chipped a few wounds previous, so the Ridge
Yeah.
Runner blew up. Well,
Oh
it didn't actually blow up; it
no.
just died,
Yeah.
and the lady inside rolled a one, so she also died. So yeah, that was fairly lucky on my half. But when it came to my turn, dropping 30 signs down and 20 command signs coming out. Rapiers he didn't touch, which was perfect. That's what I wanted him to do. So he didn't touch the rapiers. So both his little, I think the other Ridge Runners with the weird las cannon things,
Hmm.
they blitzed them, and the other rapiers on the other side blitzed them. Um, and then the Scions just took any infantry looking unit and just smoked them. They were gone.
Yeah.
So at that point, most of his army was gone. Unfortunately, like already by turn two, a lot of his army because they're not tough. They're fairly fragile, especially the infantry. And he was rolling blips after blips, like he was getting them, which I was like, fair enough. Okay,
Yeah.
so at this point, he wasn't the happiest because obviously he expected to like all you did is kill chimeras, and Ogryn coming out with 18 shots is gonna kill all pretty much 90% of your things.
Yeah.
Because they just ran up to them and blitzed them and then charged. So they killed like 2 or 3 units each,
Yeah.
especially on the charge. And then his turn three brought a fair few blips out, but he didn't want to kill a Scion unit that had two melters because he didn't want me to bring them back, which was fair enough. He shot a lot into the Ogryn. He killed the unit of Ogryn on objectives, but he forgot about the rapiers and the unit of Scions that was just looking at him. So that happened quite a bit above the board. Like he left me on one Ogryn left, which I was like, fair
Mm-hmm.
enough. Scions then moved up, wiped that screen up again, and then these two Scions just advanced and took out like 3 blips. So yeah, so he forgot. It's not like he forgot about them. He was just he
Yeah.
didn't want them coming back.
Yeah.
And then also yeah, and then the prime that advanced also took out like 2 blips. So at this
Oh
point
man.
he had like 2 blips left,
Yeah.
and obviously on his turn he brought 2 units back, and obviously they died again to just overwhelming fire from the Scions. Because yeah, I tell everyone, don't step on circles, especially in the movement phase,
Yeah.
because you will die. And unfortunately, he stepped on a circle, so the one of the 2 blips that came back then died. So he was a bit like, fair.
Fair. Yeah, man, that's so brutal. I mean, destroying like 5 of the blips coming back from the GSC is just
Yeah,
game breaking at that point. I
yeah,
mean, even just rolling 5 of them to come back in the first place is pretty good, but
it was.
losing that many immediately after is just like, well, I now have no board control. Nice.
Yeah,
So,
he should have got rid of the 2 melters, I think.
yeah. Do you think you would have been able to get rid of the blips anyway by like deep striking and taking them out?
You can't get rid of the blips off of deep strike.
Oh, you
Apparently,
can't.
it's not a normal move. No. So if he would have
Oh,
killed it, even if I deep struck, they still would have been there. So
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't unfortunately. I
But
was gonna do it with Gaunt's Ghost, but I
yeah.
couldn't.
So technically, because I'm thinking about it, because when you bring in things from a blip, can those be within 9 inches of a thing?
I'm not too sure. It
Okay,
never
fair enough.
happened. It never came.
Yeah,
Never came out.
never come up. I'm actually not sure because maybe you technically don't destroy the blips, but they can't come back there. Regardless, like you got rid of them, the game ended pretty
Yeah.
quickly, and I mean this is a pretty good start already. Custodes seems like a matchup that would be pretty, pretty easy. Then Gene Stealers definitely
Oh
sounds
yeah.
to me like a game that depends a lot on who goes first.
Yeah.
Because you both have the
Definitely.
ability to alpha strike the other one on turn 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely just willing to sacrifice units because I know I had more guns than him. So
Yeah. Makes sense. Anyway, the third game you have on day 1 looks like it's against Drukhari, and this
it
one
was.
is the draw. So how did that happen?
Oh, I ran out of time.
Oh no.
Yeah, I got to turn 3. I ran out of time,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Fair.
So yeah, he was playing a lot of Talos pain engines,
Mm-hmm.
and going into an army that has a lot of strength 5 guns and a lot of melters and plasmas, because he brought the ones that had the anti-infantry out first. But then I don't care. I'm all in transports.
Yeah.
So he brought them out first. I didn't reveal my rapiers because I knew he wanted to kill my rapiers. So I just shot him with my few plinky guns, a few heavy bolters, killed like 1 or 2. I was like, yeah, it's fine. He stickied quite a few objectives, and this is where the problem started because I couldn't unsticky them
Mm-hmm.
because he denied my deep strike fairly well, and this is probably where I made a pretty big mistake. I didn't bombast the 5 units of standard incubi. I don't know
Mm.
why. I was scared of witches.
Fair.
I don't
Yeah.
like witches, so I bombast 90% of them off instead, and it screwed me. But um, yeah, I killed quite a bit of the flamers, and then obviously the Chimera is coming out. He saw his chance to bring his one with uh, the anti-tank, so a lot of mortal wounds, which I was fine about. But then my rapiers came out. He did the Phil no -1 damage, -1 to hit on one of them. Unfortunately, exposed all 4, so I was like, oh no, I guess I'll just kill all of the 3. So
Yeah.
I killed all the other 3, and then I killed the one flamer one because he charged both Hellhounds. So at this point, I'm somewhat blocked in my corner,
Mm-hmm.
but I was fairly confident, and I noticed that we only had half an hour left at this point. So I was like, oh, he had his turn, he deep struck, and I was like, need to be quicker. I've got half an hour. I've got 2 turns, pretty much 2 turns left.
Yeah.
Got to my turn 3. Unfortunately, I had 15 minutes left. He had a unit of 3 bikes. He pulled assassination. So no, he pulled assassination on turn 5. So I'd done my 2 turns at this point,
Yeah.
but I completely forgot to fire my bombast for 2 turns. So yeah, that was the problem of having to do 2 turns in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I completely forgot to fire them. If they killed the 3 bikes, I would have won quite easily, but
Fair.
I forgot. So it was a pain. He got his 3 bikes in. He killed Gaunt, which got him assassinate, which gave us a draw instead. But I just learn be better track of time next
Yeah.
time, and
Uh.
then maybe use a chess clock.
Yeah. I actually was gonna ask that. Is like, how often do you tend to play on chess clocks?
I'm trying to do like every game,
Yeah.
but it's weird when you get up to the table with someone. You're like, "Oh, do you want to use a chess clock?" They're like, "No." You feel like you feel like I trust you. No, no.
Yeah.
But I think to get like top tables or really good at the game, you have to even if they're the nicest person away, like you don't have to be horrible using a chess clock.
Yeah.
Like you can just use it. It'll because I didn't know how long we had left at all because I was kind of like how long we got left. He says half an hour, and I was like, I only just noticed this, and it felt like an hour to me.
Yeah.
So if I had a chess clock at that moment, I would have definitely just done a lot better.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
is what it is. I'm
I
happy with the draw.
I know the last person that I actually did an interview with, Alexander Tepe in Germany. He was like, he was very surprised to hear that it's not, at least in America, uh, the chess clock is the exception, not the rule, right? Like we can make a chess clock every single game, but I generally only put people on clocks if I know they're slow, know they're new, so are kind of like slow by proxy, and it's not like trying to be aggressive. It's just like, hey, I need to protect my time, kind of thing. And then sometimes like I'll play whenever someone else does it. Is that kind of like a similar culture to what you see in the
Yeah,
UK? Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty much the same sort of culture, but
yeah,
obviously at
it
tournaments,
happens.
it's just something I need to improve on personally. I think so.
Hmm. Now, one of the
Like,
interesting
just
things as well, so one of the other guys that I know that loves playing Scions, he was the one who was really into the Land and Lions back when they were the cool hotness. He was saying that Scions in 10th edition, one of the biggest enemies he has is actually playing against the clock normally. Is that something that you're also finding?
I'm fairly fine. So I've obviously been playing them since they came out, so
Hmm.
about 8 odd years. I tend to find if you think about what you're going to do during your opponent's turn, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Like by the end of the turn, you can somewhat know what's going to die. Like a unit of science, they're probably dead. So you know what's most likely going to die. You think your head is what's the worst case scenario, what's the best case scenario, and let's meet in the middle. So you work off of what you're going to do during your next turn on what you see on the table and
Hmm.
what you see is probably going to die, and it makes you so much quicker because then you're like, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this. Like, unfortunately, it doesn't help as much when it comes to secondaries. But the way I like to play, as you can see, this is the reason I don't get hundreds all the time, is I just like to destroy the opponent. It's not the nicest way of playing, but unfortunately, if the opponent's dead, he can't score points.
Yeah,
So,
that's totally
yeah,
fair. Do you ever go
yeah,
like fix secondaries? Because I know that's something that made 9th edition games faster. Is just well, you knew
yeah.
how you're gonna score. Is there any reason you'd look to play fixed in Pariah Nexus?
Um, I haven't personally played Fix, and
Hmm.
I don't really see why. Like I said, you've got so much battle line with the Scions. You're very, very good at just doing secondaries. You can have cheap throwaway units, like even Sabotage. You're like, I can sacrifice a unit of Ogryn for a turn.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine. Like, you're so good at just playing into the mission. I just don't see the point. It's just, I like if someone played my army, they probably could play it better if they actually played the secondaries more. Like I just kill things and then hopefully get my secondaries later. Like honestly, sometimes I go through 90% of my turn and then look down my secondaries and be like, oh,
Oh.
whoops.
Yeah. That's really funny. I know it's like one of my favorite memes that I've ever seen is like, the bell curve where you have like the dumb guy and then the smart guy and then it's like, in the middle, it's like, oh, you got to make sure you get 100 points every turn. And it's like, I'm the dumb guy. It's like, oh, you just kill them. And then you have Matthew
Yeah,
Edginton, other side, just kill them. And it still
yeah.
works, right? Which is really great. I'm actually kind of curious then, is that like a style that you've always had or is that something that has like evolved recently?
Style I've always had ever
Hmm.
since I started playing. Because obviously back in the day there was no objectives, there was no really getting objectives. It was generally just kill your opponent.
Yeah,
So obviously playing for so long, it's my game. It's what I
fair.
do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at it. If like I think to myself, if you can kill your opponent, they can't get secondaries. Like you, I won't get 100, but neither will they.
Yeah,
But
totally
as you can
fair.
see, I get 70s. I probably could have got 90s, but I was just too busy killing things.
Which is a little bit more fun too. Well, with that,
It
let's
is.
go ahead. Let's go ahead and go over to this next game because your next two games here, Matt, are very one-sided. The World Eaters
Yeah,
game, I've definitely seen what Scions can do to World Eaters. So, how did it actually play out
yeah.
this time?
He was a lovely guy. He just had no clue what the army did, unfortunately. So I set up Gaunt's Ghost in the middle of the board, stop his scouts, which is fine. Obviously, I don't like sacrificing them, but it is what it is.
Mm.
So he did no scouts because also I went first.
Ooh, brutal.
I also forgot
Yeah.
to move Sans backwards as well. I didn't have many firing lanes. I kind of put a Chimera forward on the middle objective. I advanced a Hellhound left. I advanced a Hellhound right. Advanced a Chimera left and advanced a Chimera right. I'm spreading out as much as I can, and then my two Taurox Primes are staging in the middle. And then he went his turn and he saw red. He's a World Eater player. He saw red.
You did the shadow boxing.
Yeah. I was like, I'm expecting shadow boxing, and if I don't, I'm going to be upset. And he did. He did some shadow boxing,
Nice.
so I was happy. Um, he knew his mistake pretty much instantly. He charged Angron into Gaunt's ghosts, and
Cool.
then went and then went. Ah, I've got 12 las cannons coming at me next turn, don't I? And I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
He also slightly exposed a rhino as well.
Mm,
So unfortunately, Angron went to the afterlife. You got to revenge Yarrick somehow.
yeah.
Uh, um, and then his rhino also died. And then this is where I deep struck my scions, and he had two units. He had a unit 8-bound and Lord Invocatus in a building. And in the other corner, he had 2 spawn, and I've been hammering the jackals. There's like 2 left at this point. I deep struck, and because where he wasn't in the building fully, I actually had an angle to shoot a few of the. Yeah, this is where the "you can't stage versus me" thing comes into place.
Yeah.
So I shot 2 plasmas, 2 melters into the exalted 8-bound. I think I killed 2 or 3, and then wiped out the spawn on the other side. Because at this point, I don't care if you charge me. I've done my work.
Yeah.
On his turn, he came out for a little bit of revenge. Lord Invocatus charged and came out. Went for my unit of 10 Scions. Didn't kill all 10. So that made me happy. And then his exalted 8-bound came out. They charged the Chimera. Oh no, okay. Killed the Chimera. And then also Khan came out. So this was where it was really quite big. I had a unit of Tempestus Command Squad. We know what they do on Overwatch.
Yeah.
And he stood on an objective.
Oh no.
And yeah. And this is where it got insane. So obviously, I had 7 shots with my plasma guns.
Yeah.
I rolled 5 6s. Yeah. So 5 automatically went through, and then I rolled 5 more, and I only failed 1. So he lost like 6 of them just from the plasmas. He
That's
charged
brutal.
me and killed. Yeah, he charged me, killed a Chimera and the Ogryn, killed the Tempestus Command Squad. But at that point, the unit was in
Yeah.
pain. Yeah, and then on my turn, I got the second unit of Tempestus Command Squad out. I strung them out 7.1 inches away, so even though blood surge, they couldn't have got to me.
Mhm.
And I put a whole command squad into them. They died, and then I put 2 Ogryn, 1 Ogryn into the unit he had left with 3. They died, and then the just had pretty much 3 exalted 8-bound left, 1 with 1 wound, and then
Yeah.
2 on the middle. 6 las cannons went into 1, 6 las cannons went into the other, so they were dead, and it just left him with 1 8-bound sitting there lonely, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the game wrapped up pretty quickly. So I want to ask a
Yeah.
quick question then. What is the most impressive Scion Overwatch? Like, what's the most impressive thing you've killed on Overwatch?
A Redemptor Dreadnought.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I rolled double 6 with the melter gun.
Nice. Yeah. I have
So it was 4 melter gun shots.
Nice. I had a game recently where I had accidentally put some, I don't remember if it was Ghosts or Scions or something, who were sabotaging in a place where his, I was playing against Tyranids, and it was like a flying Hive Tyrant or something. He could actually get to them because he was playing like Vanguard, so he could advance and charge. And I was like, well, I'm going to win this game, but, let's just find out. I'm playing Scions. He's not on objective, so I just got to go with my reroll 1s. I take my 3 melta guns, the first thing, roll 3 6s, and I just...
Oh, well, sorry.
I'm sorry. And he's like, yeah, that's fair. That was like the only like real mistake I made that game, and then God bailed me out. So it was okay, but that's pretty
Scion
funny.
Overwatch is nasty.
It's absolutely disgusting. I always tell people the same things, like, don't do anything. Like, do not stand on circles around these guys. They will kill you. Well, we wrap that one up, and you go into your last game of the day. Now, I know at this point with the 1 draw, you're not really expecting to make top cut, but was that something that was in your mind at all?
A little bit. Like, I was next to Manny, so I was like, if Manny can make top cut, why not?
Nice. Yeah.
So it was a little bit,
Yeah.
some really good players could lose and get low points. I could hopefully top cut.
Yeah.
But I expected to go 3-2 at the tournament.
Nice.
So even getting this far, I was already happy.
Yeah.
And, got to show the Scion superiority again. It just helps,
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the last one where you're talking about the Chaos Demons. You actually get your 100 for the first time this event. How did this one go down? Because this one sounds like it could be a very difficult matchup depending on what kind of demons it is.
Well, he took Rotigus, a normal not Bloodfeather. Well, he did take a Bloodfeather. He took Rotigus, the Great Unclean One with the 4-up, Feel No Pain. He took Bellacore. He took Scarbrand, the Skull Cannon, some Screamers, some Dogs, and just standard plague guys.
Yeah.
Um,
So a lot of big demons then. I know Be'lakor has
a
kind of like
lot of big,
fallen out of what do you call it? Fallen out of favor these days simply because all the
yeah,
other greater demons have the a similar rule.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I did find that as soon as I saw Be'lakor, I was a bit like, okay, at least that helps.
Yeah.
So I went first, which yet again made me happy. All I could do is I spread out again. I'm gonna bait him somewhere. He's gonna have to go somewhere.
Mhm.
And I actually start doing my secondaries. Yeah, I finally do
Yes.
secondaries instead of just killing things. I got one Chimera within range, and I think I took 4 wounds off the Bloodthirster. So already I was like, yay, great.
Great.
Yeah. His turn, he Be'lakor went up with Rotgus. Um, he moved, so he had 1 CP. This is important. So he put the Great Unclean One in front of the Bloodthirster. So
Oh.
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So if he fails the charge, he can't charge the Bloodthirster. It was a 7-inch charge into the Chimera that was on the middle objective. He failed his charge. So the
Yeah.
Bloodthirster just stood there, just twiddling his thumbs. Rotgus charge, Gaunt's ghost killed everything but Gaunt, so I'm saving him for
Cool.
later.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. He knew how annoyingly strong my rapiers were. Killed my rapiers, spent 2 CP, brought them back. So I was like, it's fine. Um, my turn to all 3 of my chimeras are 9 inches now. So the amount of lethals that were flying at him, because the thing that helps the army so much is they've got 4 up invulns. I'm
Yeah.
all AP1. I don't now need to stack my buffs because I don't care. So like the hunter killers were like actually doing something for once. The heavy bolters were chipping off some decent damage. So was Lasgonna Rays and heavy stubbers because the lethals. You fail 1 4 up, it's still a damage,
Yeah.
and it's a lot. It's a lot. What from a Chimera at that range? You get 12 from the Lasgonna Rays. You get 6 from the stubber. You get a hunter killer. You get 12 from the Ogryn. Another 6 from the heavy bolter. It's a lot of shots. So even just the lethals alone, I took off what 8 9 wounds per big guy, just because of the amount of lethals.
Yeah.
Um, so the lethals from 2 chimeras hurt Rotgus a lot. Rapiers finished him. And then I went for the blood. No, the bloodthirst was still alive. And then I popped a few bits into the bloodthirster. It killed him. I think this was 1 chimera and a Scion command. So I just wanted him gone. The guy got very unlucky when it comes to his ground clean one. So another Scion command came out. I fired 6 las cannons into him, hit 4, wounded 4. He failed all 4.
Oh no.
I did like 21 damage, and he passed like 2 or 3 feel no pains. So unfortunately, even when he's on the back foot, the dice were just they were not there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, he wasn't like a few wounds left, and the Scion command just ate the rest of it. So at that point, he lost 3 big greater demons in 1 turn, just because the army's good at dealing things with 4 up saves
Yeah.
because of the lethals and how close I was.
Yeah, that's brutal. I mean,
It was.
it definitely sounds like when it rains, it pours kind of thing. Like, as
Yeah.
soon as one
Yeah.
goes down, you're like, oh, cool, I have extra shots to shoot at this other
Yeah.
one that I thought I had to go into that thing. And so
Yeah.
it just compounds upon itself. So, I mean, it sounds like this one ended up being very clean. And then after that, so again, you're now four wins and 1 draw. What kind of things were going through your head in terms of like looking at Top Cut and where you could potentially go after that? Were you expecting to play the 6th round at all?
No.
No.
No, unfortunately not. No. Well, my friend wanted to go home, so it was like, even if
Fair.
you were, you're going home. So I was a bit like, fair enough, okay.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm sitting there hoping, cross my little fingers. I knew it wasn't gonna happen. I had to win all the games. I was happy where I came anyway. Just if I had a little bit more time, I could have. But then if I didn't get the draw, I might have gone into a lot harder matchups that I just couldn't
Sure.
deal
Yeah.
with. It's just you don't know. So that draw could have won me 2 more games. We just don't know, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of curious then, like looking at the I don't have the player names of who you played against, and I obviously don't know like who you know. Were any of the people that you played against like people that you'd played against previously?
No. A
No.
few of them were from teams,
Hmm.
but no. Unfortunately, obviously, coming from France and different parts of the world,
Yeah.
it's quite rare to verse the same people through the same circuit. Because even if you're playing through the same circuit that has 300 people and then versing the same people again, um, yeah, it's a bit
It's
odd.
just a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, quite a few of my friends did quite well. I wanted to verse a few of them just because I know they can't deal with my list, so it's a bit like,
That's pretty
yay.
funny. Yeah, I always have like this like because against my friends I have like this really ridiculous win rate against like the people that I know. So it's always
Yeah.
like, do I want to play them in bracket? Like I play them all the time, but it doesn't happen very often.
No.
Anyway, there were a lot of guard players at this event. You end up being the fourth guard player behind Nassim, Gaylord, and Rowan Hesse, whose name I'm not familiar with. Is he a British player? Do you know?
I assume he's a British player.
Gotcha.
I haven't seen him.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple people coming through that I believe come from the rest of the continent. But anyway, let's go ahead and do
Yeah.
some fun speculation, Matt, as we get close towards the hour. Tempestus Aquilons just dropped. I know you're excited for them. Tell
I
me
am.
what you're thinking about this unit so far.
Um, they they are great. I like them. They are good at 90 points. They are not broken at 90 points. They, if you play Scions, especially the way I do, they're gonna help because they're a bit like indirect, but
Yeah,
you can hold objectives. So I'm really excited for them. I think they're just because the way I also want to play them is if I see an opportunity where I can drop them, use the turret, clear a few, then drop my main Scion unit. I've just made a 9-inch bubble for myself. Especially if I'm planning on running a 2,
yeah,
so I can do that twice. And if I can clear a corner, I've now got this corner to deep strike Scions. And if they know I can do that, they're gonna have to start putting more things back, which then gives me the mid board and just gives me so much more extra playroom.
yeah.
So I and they look cool. So
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think the sculpts are absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait. I have 3 units coming in. I'm probably going to be playing 2 of them, like you said.
yeah.
So my first question then is, what would you drop from your list in order to make room for these?
Oh, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. I hate it. I just want them for free, please.
2180 points, easy.
Yeah,
You guys
just give
don't
it to
mind,
me.
right? Yeah.
No. Yeah, because obviously this is my list. This is the list I'm personal with,
Yeah,
and it works so close knit. Like everything needs to buff each other. Everything needs to do this. So unfortunately, it'll probably be the Bombasts and
sad.
one unit of Scions. Yeah, it's going to be one unit, both Bombast, one unit of Scions. But I'm going to tie around either 2 units of mortars. So, but I don't know if that's just too much light infantry killing,
Sure.
or I'm going to put in the field ordnance but at 1. But if I can take even 1 unit of Scion now, I can get Aquilons and then 2 units of Aquilons will be good. But I just don't think one single Bombast is enough. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try out the mortars, but I also think they're just not good when it comes to killing heavier things. They're actually not bad at killing 3-up armor things
Yeah.
because you think about it, the AP1 they don't care because a Bombasters they've got a 3-up save, a mortar they've got a 3-up save. So it's a bit like what targets I'm thinking in my head do I want to kill? So what the Aquilins not gonna do? So I'm thinking if I make it the mortars go for a light target, chew them up a bit, Quillins make a bigger gap,
Yeah.
and then drop the Scions in. So pretty much guarantees the gap. So
Hmm.
turn 1, hammer a gap, deep strike, kill more, get a big gap. But that's if you get it.
Yeah.
And one ofs just doesn't feel right in the list,
Fair. Yeah.
unfortunately.
You need the redundancy when you have like
Yeah,
these kind of
yeah.
scions. So I'm actually really curious because you said you don't think they're going to be broken. I actually think they're going to be meta defining. And
Oh,
so
really?
here's a couple of reasons why I think they're going to be meta defining. One, you've already identified they're really good at punching holes in screens, so they can make room for Scions, which I think if Scions remain at their points and Aquilons remain at 90 points, I think that is an absolutely nasty combo for
Oh,
opening
yeah.
parts of the map, right? So that's the obvious thing that they do. The other thing that they do is I think you have to look at like what other armies are doing, right? World leaders are playing jackals. Um, Tau are using like stealth suits and like Dark Strider just like hang out on their home objective. Um, so like you can kill all of their scoring pieces. Guard relies on like Catachan to just like run around to just like sit on these small objectives off on the side. And basically like 2/3 of the armies have like some little pieces of garbage that you're just like, well, you need those as your scoring tools and to screen out the rest of the board. If we just devote, like, we do not care about any of the damage output from Aquilons, if we can just kill all of our opponent's utility pieces, well, now suddenly the CSM player has to start putting a Rhino on an objective instead of a unit of cultists, right? And that starts to adds up very quickly, right? If Tau lose all their stealth suits and now they don't have any of their good guiding units, that adds up very quickly, right? Suddenly you're compounding the damage output that they're losing. And then the third thing that I think Aquilons are absolutely nasty at is the rapid ingress to block charges.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You come in, imagine like against armies like CSM or like some versions of CSM, and then some versions of like world eaters and whatnot that don't have good shooting. They move into this opportunity to charge, and you're just like, okay, well now I'm going to make you hit this 90-point unit so that you can't actually get to my Lehman Russes or my Rogol Dorns, the things that you actually want to charge into, because you can't clear them with shooting first. And I think between like all of these things, I think Aquilons have so much utility that it's going to be like Inceptors a second time.
Yeah.
Except we
Yeah.
have them.
It's going to be fantastic. They are going to
Yeah.
be fantastic.
Yeah.
Like 90 points, you can't complain.
Yeah.
And then obviously more Scions. I love more Scions. So
Absolutely.
they're going to be insane.
I mean,
I
if you
love
take
them.
maximum Scions, I think that only puts you. I remember doing the math. I think it's 1,000 like 80 points if you take maximum Scions, maximum Aquilons, maximum Tempestus command squads. So that gives you lots of tools to play around with
Yeah, it
afterwards.
does.
But we are starting to
Let-
get close to our hour here, Matt. I want to ask a couple of hot takes. I always love doing this at the very end. The first one, I gotta ask, what unit in the guard index do you think is currently the most overrated? Everybody else says it's good, and you're just like, I don't get it. I don't see the appeal.
And mine's going to be incredibly hot take, but Rogol Dorns.
Rogol Dorns. Okay, I love this question. Yeah.
No, they are a lovely little brick to. I shoot you, and then if you can kill it, it dies. Obviously, it's dead, and then you feel it. You
Yeah.
definitely, especially if if you've got Lord Solar, he's already like a 240 point sink. If you kill a Rogol Dawn, like especially if you're good at trading, you're like, oh no, like my army, you've killed a Chimera. I've now killed your Rogol Dawn.
Yeah.
I can do that again, and I will do it again. So it feels like you don't. Obviously, I'm such a trading army. It just doesn't like trading. It needs to live and it needs to keep shooting to get its points. And I feel like against some armies, it just can't. Like it dies. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always one of the interesting things. I feel like the Rogol Dorn is probably the single unit that has the widest disparity amongst, players who do well, where half of them are like, this unit is awesome. You should take two in every list. And the other half is like, I don't understand this unit at all. Like, why are you guys bringing this one? And I love this question because it is such a divisive one as to like where people like rate the Rogol Dorn. And some people are like, well, it's this big land raider with guns, and other people's like, yeah, but what if I can kill the land raider?
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
always
Once it
like,
landed, and
yeah, exactly. But let's do the funner part of it. So Rogol Dorn's overrated. Can you give me two units in the index that people that are underrated people aren't looking at it, they need to be looking at it more, and it actually has a lot more use cases than they might be thinking.
well, I use them. Rapier laser destroyers. I don't know why people don't take more. They're 105 points for 6 las cannons, and you've got enough ways to increase AP. You've got enough ways to ignore cover. That's 6 las cannons for 105 points. It's it's insane. Like I personally, when the new codex comes out, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself without my rapiers. I'm not gonna have them. I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
I've run them for like 2 years now. Oh, they are insane for 105 points, and you can bring them back with reinforcements. So
true. And you're using them mostly as damage pieces then, because I've seen a lot of people use
yeah,
rapiers mostly as like single units for scoring purposes.
yeah, just damage. Like I said, 105 points. You cannot complain. Like what? Like I said, six las cannons, twin linked. Cause the problem with them is you see a profile of hitting on fives, which obviously puts you off. But hitting on fours, that's its only problem is the hitting.
Hmm.
If you can get past the hitting, you are probably going to wound with a reroll.
Yeah,
So it's a 50% chance. You have to think about it. It's going to do something because with the rerolls, it's going to. And for 105 points, what other platform can you get that deals that much damage for 105 points?
that's totally fair. Like I've been looking at them a little bit more, like you said. I'm a little hesitant knowing that they are very likely to get legends
Yeah.
during the codex, but you know, that means we have at least 2 months left where you guys can make good use out of them. But give me one more. What's another unit people should be looking at?
Mm, I don't know. What unit people aren't using, yeah?
I mean, there's a
Um,
lot of things that people think are bad. There's a
it's
lot of things
true.
that top players like. I love talking to like Nassim because if you even question whether or not you should like, what if I brought 12 Bulgur instead of 18? It's like, no, you gotta bring the maximum.
That's the thing is I haven't got my head screwed in too much, like solely into guard meta.
Yeah,
I'm very much just out on the whims, playing with some grass and some dandelions, doing my own thing, and then I just
yeah,
happen to do well.
that's fair.
Um, oh, what random units? Rough Riders can be pretty good, but that's if you have to play them well. You
Yeah.
have to play them well.
So what kind of
But
things do you generally look at in order to see someone be playing Rough Riders well?
um, so you have to know how to stage very well. You have to know. You have to know what targets are actually worth charging, and you have to clench your fingers and hopefully you can actually charge and roll charge dice. I failed a 3-inch charge with them once, and I was like,
Ah,
"Out you go."
yeah,
As against World Eaters as well, so I don't.
yeah, but you know, at least there's only like 120 points of horses
I
that end up
know, I
disappearing.
know.
Yeah, if anybody's interested, I do have a guide on Rough Riders. I'll put a link up in the description or something. It is a little bit out of date. I'm actually really curious as kind of like a last thought. How did you feel about your list when the reinforcements change came through in Prime Nexus?
Oh, my poor little heart just dropped. Oh, it hurt. It hurt my soul. But Science went down 10 points, so I
So fair
essentially I
trade.
essen- I essentially got two reinforcements, but I
That's
got
fair.
one for free. So as much as it hurt when I actually thought about it, I was like, okay, I'll just run extra 10 Scions and then I'll reinforce the 10 Scions. So
Yeah,
it's 20, not 10. So it
fair enough.
didn't affect me hugely. So
Yeah,
I mean, I'd still like more, but
totally fair. All right. Well, then, as we're starting to wrap up here, Matt, any closing thoughts? Any shout outs that you want to be giving? Is there any like content stuff that we should be looking at?
I do like Morgan Glory. He's good. He's very good at like mellowing people out, and
I
I
don't know
quite
about.
like it. I quite
I
like it.
I like Mordia, but I don't know if he mellows people out.
Well, it depends. Like, obviously, he's not crazy competitive. He's
Sure.
obviously he's not
Yeah.
going to the
Okay, I can see.
round the
I can buy
circuit,
that. Yeah.
but it's nice to see him play because he plays wacky things as well.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that wacky things do well. So it kind of like I get ideas
Mhm.
from these wacky random lists, and it kind of like it levels me out personally because I could just go all the Rogal Dawns, but unfortunately there's not enough science. But
Totally fair. Yeah.
yeah, like with my group of friends, we're very close. I've converted I think 3 of them to science, so I'm getting there. I convince everyone I play. I was like, just buy science. That's all you need to do.
That's all you
You
need.
know,
All right.
I love science.
All right, well, very cool. Thank you so much for coming on, Matt. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you had a good time as well. So
Thank you for
we'll
having me.
definitely have more of the Scions coming through. Hopefully, I'm
Yeah.
crossing my fingers that they survive both the MFM and the Codex dropping for
Oh,
mostly for your sake. Honestly, I can play something else. I love my Scions, but like.
oh. I'll play my Scions. I'll just lose every game and cry.
That's all right. As long as you're
Yeah.
okay with that, it'll be good. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of Tactical Debrief. We'll see you guys all next time.